Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to the Cardiff City phone in this evening. And as usual, we are delighted to be welcomed by a panel of Cardiff City fans. First and foremost, we've got Steve over by there. How are you, my friend?
Good, Si. Yeah, nice to be on. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, indeed. And then we've got Pan down in the bottom corner. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, Si. Nice to see you again, mate.
And we also have a female voice this evening with Donna Perry. How are you?
Good, thanks, Si. Thanks for having me on. Come for the special people, Steve.
That's it. And plus, you can also check out Donna's daughter's vlog from Saturday, which came out a bit earlier on Cardiff City World. Give that a little plug. Was very, very good. Steve, we'll start with you. Obviously, you've been a bit frustrated, I think it's fair to say, recently with performances and the manager and stuff. The manager's now been relieved of his duties, but we also had a very poor game against Leeds on Saturday. Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling in regards to Erol Bulut leaving and where the club stands at the moment.
Bit of a sense of relief when I read the news on Sunday lunchtime. But I suppose when you also read that Vincent's going to be allegedly picking the new manager, it's a bit of a scary time, given his past track record. So and some of the names we talked about before we actually came live here tonight, even more scary. Let's be honest, it was shocking again on Saturday, Si, and even before we got Bagan sent off, I think we could have been 2 or 3 down if it wasn't for our keeper, with the same tactics. So I'm relieved that we're going to have someone else in the manager's office, but a bit sceptical as to who it's going to be. I don't know what the others think, but yeah, interesting time.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those, isn't it, where like you're just a bit not sure what they're going to do. If they get it right, if they get it right, left. We could go on nicely, and Donna, where do you stand?
I'm relieved that Erol Bulut's gone, because we have got a good squad. I believe there's a good squad of players there. We've got players like NG. We have got Aaron Ramsey. We've got Callum O'Dowda. There's some good players. We are a striker short, but apart from that, we've got a strong midfield, a strong defence. You could see that the players weren't playing for him, and I think the longer I don't think they were down in tools. I think they weren't playing for him because they weren't playing in the right positions. I think they were despondent. I don't think they could do what they were asking them, what he was asking them to do tactic-wise and formation-wise. It just wasn't suiting them. So there's obviously some conflict between them and the players. I think the longer that he was there, it was going to go worse and worse. So at least if he's gone now, we can have a new replacement, and perhaps the players then can play where they're supposed to play and have some more football that suits their styles as well. Now, I am concerned as well about who it could potentially be, especially if it is his other team in Belgium. I don't think that's the way forward. But we just got to wait and see, haven't we? I mean, there are people out there. I just think now, at that time when Bulut was appointed, we could have had Nathan Jones. I know he wanted the game. He wanted the job. I'm pretty sure he was interviewed. I'm pretty sure about that. And he wasn't under contract then. So I think we missed a gem then, because I'd love Nathan Jones to come back. But whether we can afford to pay him out from Charlton. I mean, I'm sure he'd love to come back, but Charlton are flying. They were 16th when he took over last year. He saved them, and now they're up there in a strong division, up there with the Wrexhams and the Stockports and the Birmingham. So he's a great manager, and he's Cardiff through and through. So he's my ideal. But again, are we going to get stuck with, not stuck, I'm not going to say negative about him. We don't know how Ritz is going to be, who's standing in. My only concern with him is he was brought in as a forwards coach, wasn't he? So that's my only concern with him. So if he's not been very good with the forwards, how is he going to cope with the whole team setup? But I am really hopeful that this is just going to be an interim basis and we can sort ourselves out, because it is, a manager's role is key. A lot of people blame the players, or the players doing this, players doing that. But it's the manager's role to play them in the right position, to motivate them and to get them playing. And this is where we're failing a lot of the time. I mean, I think since Warner, we had Neil Harris. He was so underestimated. I mean, he got us to the playoffs. But since then, we've just gone we haven't been making the right appointments, and this is why we're not where we should be. So yeah, but I don't. I think it's the right move. I think anything is going to be more positive than what we've had to put up with.
No, I agree with that last point. Absolutely. I think I slightly disagree with you on the players, because I think they get paid a lot of money, and all right, tactically, yes, do what the manager tells you, and if that is what you see, then that's what there's poor. But that doesn't stop you running around and putting effort in. And what I saw on Saturday, from very close up, was we were retreating and there was no tackles put in. It was really frustrating to watch. Pan, the one thing is, I don't think we need to rush into making a decision on the manager. You have got a holding pattern a little bit with the interim manager, and I think there's managers out there. Omar Risa has an opportunity now to kind of show that he can implement a more attacking style for the team, and that it was the manager sort of being the negative side of that, if you like, because since he's come in, our attackers have been a non-issue whatsoever. In every game we've never looked like scoring really. So do you think we will see a difference in this next game, Pan?
I don't think so, Simon, to be honest with you. I was a Bulut supporter in terms of having a new contract, because he took us to 12th with a poor team. He only signed a couple of players, Gutas and Siopis, who were two of our better players last season. So he'd gone from 19th to 12th with an average team. I don't think many City fans could have expected much more from him. So from that point of view, I was happy for him to have his contract. But, he should have been sacked after Derby. Our supporters at home in the first two games has gone down 10% compared to the first two games of last season, discounting the Swansea game because that was our third game. So we've already lost nearly 10% of fans. That's partly to do with the early kickoff, but I think also with the style of play. And I think moving forward, obviously you can't rush these decisions, because obviously if you get it wrong, it's going to cost him another £1 million, £2 million to pay off. Obviously, he paid off Bulut with probably £1 million. I don't know, something around that region. So yeah, my view, I agree with Donna. That's a really good point. But I think people like Nathan Jones, unfortunately, Town is not going to get anyone who's under contract. That there's no way he's going to pay off £2-3 million to bring anyone. He's got his budget for a manager. I mean, look at the managers we've had, over the last 10, 12 years. A lot of them, they're on a set budget. If you're going to apply for a job, they know what the salary is going to be. I think Nathan Jones would have taken the job if he was offered it before he took Charlton. There's no way. I don't think he'll leave. I mean, I don't throw it in there, but for me, Gus Poyet spent 3 years at Greece just recently. He is available. He's had a good pedigree, plays good football. Obviously, if you look at his history of clubs he's had, he's got some good experience, and I think that would be someone I would get excited about. But as far as what you said about Reza, like Donna said, he came in as an attack coach. We scored 53 goals last season, which obviously wasn't enough. He came in, took us backwards. And, when we say about Bulut being a defender, well, we couldn't score, and we conceded so many goals. So, we weren't even getting anything. I'd rather lose 3-2, and at least you've got something to hang on to. But I honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest, I can't see, and it's just my view, and I know Donna said we've had some good signings, but if you look at the players like Willock, he's gone backwards. He was 18 months prior to signing for us QPR. He was awful. El Ghazi hadn't played for 9 months. We've signed 3 central defenders. A striker, Kanga, not good enough. Obviously, not even good as Akbar. So where we needed the strength was obviously striker. And I don't think any manager coming in at present is going to make massive changes. I think in the next 6 games, if we get 4 or 5 points, we'd be fairly lucky, I think. So I think I think any new manager coming in, it may be a couple of weeks before we get one, but I think we're going to struggle for a few weeks. And January, as I said, we need a striker. I can't see how Kanga's going to score. I don't know where the goals are coming from, because, as I said, Willock on the left, compared to Grant last season, Grant was better than Willock. You know, we had Ramsey played, scored a few goals. Akpo scored a few goals. Wintle scored 1 and 2. He's got so the goals last season at this time, they've all dried up. I can't see where the goals are coming from. So unless someone comes in, you know, and changes the system, and obviously confidence is a big thing, so isn't it? If they can get the guys getting their confidence back, maybe we can turn this around.
I think, look, there's obviously issues with the striker position. I would argue that if you could play prime Ronaldo 9 up front for us, and these first few games, he would have looked like a Sunday League player because we don't get the ball in the areas for him to do anything. And he's clear, you know, Kanga has scored goals elsewhere, but what I can't accept is his work rate and attitude. Like him not getting the ball and the service, fine, but him not putting the effort and putting a challenge in and jumping up for the ball and just working hard, that's another story. And for me, I'd rather see Keane Ashford up there at the moment because at least he'll run around and try and trouble the defenders. I'd like to play a little game with the three of you, though. I'm going to give you all a manager's name who has been linked, shall we say, to the Cardiff City job in the last 24 hours. And I'd like to give me your opinion of why it would be a good choice, why it wouldn't be a good choice, where you maybe see potential issues, or why you think they'd be very, very good. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Steve, we'll go with you first.
Okay.
And I think we'll go with Schumacher is the one that's been linked with you, that I'm going to ask you about. You know, if you would like some more information, I can give you some more information as well. I'm not going to just completely put you on the spot, but he's one of the ones which I know is a free agent and is, you know, obviously a good manager.
I was surprised he got the boot from Stoke, to be honest. I think he was doing okay up there. And looking at their side, I've just only seen a couple of their highlight games this year, but quite a young side. Actually, in fact, a very young side. And I think they were doing okay. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. But just to take him back even further, he did an excellent job, didn't he, with Plymouth? And they came on leaps and bounds when he took the reins down there. So personally, he'd be one of the names that'd be high on the list. But just one thing: are the club inviting any applications, or I mean, do they physically advertise the position, or is it just up to anyone to get in touch? Or I don't know how it works, you know.
I'm not sure. If they are, though, I will definitely apply. I can say that for sure.
Well, Donna, you throw your hat in the ring as well. You know, it'd be nice to have a female manager, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Schumacher,
could be a strong woman.
yeah, I mean, Schumacher to me would be a sound appointment because he's learned his trade in the lower leagues. I wouldn't say he's absolutely proven in the Championship, but I think he's got good pedigree, and I think he's someone who would look to play our younger players, which is something we're in desperate need of, and is something which Erol moved away from, didn't he? I mean, the best game I've seen this year down there was the cup game where he played all the kids and we scored 3 goals. Okay, we lost 5-3 or whatever it was in the end, but at least we saw some great entertainment and we saw some forward progressive football, which is what's drastically needed. So Schumacher would be high on my list. Yeah, definitely. A positive.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm in that boat as well. He's a free agent, and I think he plays good football. And also, I think he's got the personality to bring the squad together because I think there is a bit of a split in the squad. Pan, I'm going to skip Donna a minute because I know Donna's going to enjoy talking about the name that I'm going to put to her in a minute.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to put to you, Pan, Brian Barry Murphy. Again,
I got no idea he is. Where was he? Or what?
So at the moment, most recently, he's been at Manchester City in the development side. Former Republic of Ireland, then the 21 international. Played a lot of his football in kind of the lower leagues: Preston, Sheffield Wednesday, Bury, Rochdale. But he's one of the most highly rated coaches in the UK for his style of football. He's currently the manager of their elite development squad at Manchester City. I think he might have just left there. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's not clear. But he plays a tremendous style of football. So I'll tell you what, I'll speak about him a little bit, and then I'll pass over to you a different name. But so with Brian Barry Murphy, I think it would be a definite risk in terms of he hasn't had that big job. You know, he was at Rochdale for a few years, did well, but it's a different standard. However, what I will say is, what I like about him is he's a very progressive thinker, very tactically astute, and what he will do is he will implement game changes with his tactics and the way he thinks about it. And one thing I always say about Cardiff City, not just on the pitch but off the pitch, is we're about 10 years behind the times always, whether it's with social media, YouTube, coaching, analysis, in the stadium. We're behind the times always. So the only reason why Brian Barry Murphy really appeals to me is because I think it will be a very progressive selection. So, Pan, what I will say to you then, what about the current manager of I can't pronounce it, Corvic, the Belgian side, which Vincent Tan also owns. He has also been heavily linked with Cardiff City job today. Would you think that's a backward step or a risk, or is it like?
Well, I think we already know it as City fans. So every manager is a big risk in it, you know, especially we get. The manager that is of the sister club in there is this season they're 16th after 6 games, so it's not promising. 14th, sorry, of 16 teams. So they're basically in the bottom 3. So he hasn't started very well. I know Simic, who he signed for 2 million, has played 2 or 3 games from the bench. I mean, obviously, I think, you know, from a personal point of view, I think myself, you know, I would like to say someone like a Poyet figure in there because he's got more experience. This guy there, he's done a reasonable job. You can see it happening because obviously the connection there with Tan. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's appointed. But to be honest with you, I haven't seen anything from his record to stand out to say, oh, I'm really excited about him, you know? I mean, yes, the style of football would probably be better than Bulut, but it wouldn't be one that would excite me. So, okay,
Donna, this manager, should I say, played at the absolute top level of football. His football career cannot be disputed. He achieved quite a lot at Wales as manager before having to leave the job for off football related issues. Would you be happy if Ryan Giggs was the new Wales Cardiff manager?
You always have me to put the cat among the pigeons, don't you, Si?
Yeah.
Cat. Do you know what? I would love Ryan Giggs to have the opportunity because, like, you know, he was assistant manager at Man U. He had to go at being the interim manager there. He's got so he hasn't got a lot of experience, you know, championship wise or actually at a team, but he has done it. And when he was at Wales, he was fantastic. I don't care what people say. He was the one that was doing really well. Rob Page was his understudy. When Rob Page then took over, when Ryan Giggs was suspended, Ryan Giggs was in the background. I know that for a fact. So he was still picking the teams, helping. And as soon as Ryan Giggs stepped down, that's when Robert Page was exposed. So I don't see any reason. Ryan Giggs, if he was to be asked to have that job, I would support him. He's not contracted anywhere. So, you know, he's not under contract. We wouldn't cost anything to come. And he has got, you know, he's a good player. He has worked at the top for Manchester United, only on an interim basis. And he's looking for work. So, yeah, okay, it's his reputation that's going against him now. Like someone put on Facebook, he's a woman beater. He's not a woman beater. That's not been evidenced. There was no evidence for that. He's a womanizer, yes, but there's lots of womanizer in football. There's lots and lots and lots, and they're still working. So just because he's a womanizer doesn't mean he has to have his career completely stopped. And as I said, there was no evidence at all that he's a woman beater. It was dropped. So yeah, I think Ryan Giggs, if he was to come, I think he's got that composure about him as well. He'd be able to, I think all the players would look up to him, which is important as well, because you do need a strong manager. So he'd be looked up to as in a football way. you know, with his experience and what he's won, and he has lots of contacts. So yeah, I don't see any reason if Ryan Giggs was to be offered the job, why anybody could complain. I really don't, you know. Maybe because of what they hear about him, but like there's so much goes on social media that's untrue. Like half the Cardiff City fans had Ollie Tanner locked up last week. You know, that's what they see. So much bad press, bad social media can travel fast. So yeah, I'd love, you know, if Ryan Giggs came, I think we'd be in a very strong position because he's better than Cardiff City, I believe. You know, and if things hadn't happened, he'd probably be Man United manager by now. So, but yeah, there we are. I enjoyed talking about that. You're right.
Interesting, Steve, because look, from a purely football point of view, I think he could be a good fit, and I think he would definitely utilize the young players in the squad. But I can also tell you from the comments on the channels, it's a split straight away. There's people who don't want him anywhere near it, and then there's people who kind of look at it from a different point of view. For me, I think what we don't need is any manager who is going to split the fan base. I think we need someone. Now, I'm not Neil Warnock's biggest fan as tactically in the way he plays football and stuff, but what you can't deny is that Neil Warnock brought Cardiff City together. He was probably the last manager to really do it. Brought the fans, the players, everyone was united under Neil Warnock, and I really believe that's what Cardiff City need now. They need someone who's going to unite the fan base, unite the team, and unite everybody together. So it is really interesting because that's a real split. Let me ask you something, Steve.
Right. You need to get him on a podcast, don't you? You need to get Ryan Giggs on a podcast to say his story.
Yeah,
that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I don't think he'll speak to me, unfortunately.
But it is a massive.
I'm not sure he's a fan of my friends, you know. So, Steve, what changes would you implement for the whole game? So, if you put yourself in Omar Rees's position, what changes you make into that first 11?
Well, Robertson's got to be one of the first names. I failed to see why Erol didn't pick Robertson. It was just a mystery. I mean, that guy was supposedly a tug of war between several clubs, and then we get him in the club, and then he just sits on the bench, and that doesn't make sense to me. So he'd definitely be in my side straight away. I think what you said earlier, playing Ashford up front, but here's another name I'd put in the mix, only because I've seen his cameo role against Southampton in the cup. But Randolph. I'd give him a shot up front because, like you said, I played centre forward. It was only senior league, but Kanga's body language to me, he's not interested. Even though he's not getting the service, yes, I wouldn't have Kanga in the side. I definitely ditch the idea of two defensive midfielders, so I'd have Robertson in there. Colwell again on Saturday. That was another mystery to me, where Erol played him wide left as opposed to through the middle. And I think if Colwell's going to be in the side, he's got to be through the middle. He seems to sort of give him a game there. If we lose, then he put him out wide and he put him wide right. So Colwell's got to play through the middle. But definitely a more progressive side. I like the look of Fish. If Darlin's back, I don't know whether he is, but I'd have him in the side. But the mystery to me side was sending a lot of those young kids out on loan, and the likes of Conte, I think he would have been an asset to the team. Joel Colwell, he should have been in and around the first team as well. And let's hope whoever comes back in the manager's office, starts utilising some of these kids. I mean, I watched a bit of the Sunderland game on Saturday, and their team is just bursting with energy. All young kids. And if you saw the fella that scored the goal, the back heel, 17. Well, and a lot of even the teams down with us, I mentioned last week, teams like Portsmouth, even though they're down with us, there's still loads of energy in those sides, and that's what we're lacking in our side. I ditch the idea of inverted wingers, which Erol's tried for months and months and never works, and play people on their right side. So if you're going to start Tanner, start him on the left. If you're going to start Willock, start him on the right. And let's see if we can get to the byline, get some balls in the box. I mean, I think we had 2 touches in Leeds' box on Saturday, which is for a home game, even for an away game, is chronic. Let's see if we can get to the byline, get some balls in the box, and make the keeper make some saves, which we didn't do again on Saturday. But yeah, definitely start with a few of those I've mentioned there.
So the Cardiff City phone in recent weeks has been accused of being a bit negative. So let me throw in some positives for you. Jack Alnwick really showing why he should have been playing. I thought Will Fish had an excellent full debut, and the thought of him and Darlin at centre back long term excites me greatly, especially with Alex Robertson in front of them, Ruben Colwell in front of them. That's a good young spine that is looking like it can do the business. So there's a couple of positives for you straight away. I also thought El Ghazi did okay when he came on, but he just doesn't look fit. That's a big issue. Let me throw the cat amongst the pigeons some more then. Pan, do you think there will be a change in system? I've been advocating that we go 3 at the back and play the two young full wing backs, and I'd actually play Louis Giles and I'd play K Pacquiao as your wing backs because Conte's gone, and I'd use their youth and pace to give us some energy, which, as Steve just said, we're lacking greatly. But what would you change the system at all, or do you think it'll be the same system, just different personnel?
Well, I agree with what you said there with the 3 in the back, and I agree with Steve. Alnwick in goal obviously is a better keeper, as we found against Leeds. Kept us in the game. He could have been 6-0. Conte should be at the club. My view is NG has had 1 good game in 6, and he should be dropped. Conte should be our wing back. Should have gone on loan. Collins obviously is back fit, and we should be playing Fish, Chambers, and Darlin. Because when you're at the bottom of the table, Si, the first thing you've got to do is conceding that many goals is get a clean sheet. We haven't got, we've got to start, from the back. 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, Siopis in front. Robertson, as Steve said, has to play. And you can switch it around. I mean, it's a confidence thing. At the moment, the guy who's there, has been there with Bulut. So what is he going to check influence-wise? What influence did he have on Bulut? I mean, that's the key. So it'd be interesting to see. I'd like just to switch it around. Willock on the right, Robinson on the left, El Ghazi. How's he going to get fit if he doesn't play games? Kanga, shouldn't be in the side at all.
No. Interesting. Donna, what changes would you make to Saturday for Hull?
Well, I would definitely be more attacking. Definitely. I wouldn't have Kanga there for a start. I'd put in Reindorf. I really, really would. Kanga, he didn't touch that ball once, did he? I'm sure he didn't, because I was watching him, because I was willing for him to score. Because you do support your boys, don't you? So I was like, come on, Kanga, you can do this. And he once. So how he had still been put there every game, I don't know. So I'd put Reindorf or even Ashford. I'd go for 2 up front. Let's be a bit more attacking. And I'll put people where they should be playing, like you say, Ruben Colwell. Put Callum O'Dowd in his right position. Put Chambers in his right position. He gave away those 2 goals because he wasn't where he should be. So you can't expect players to play to their full potential if they're out of position. So I would, definitely more attacking, get rid of Kanga. Like we say, the saving grace now is Alnwick has got himself back in that team. I don't know what happened there, because we were doing okay last season when he was in goal. And then he made one mistake and then he was dropped. And then that's when we fell down the table a bit. So, yeah, I really hope they change the system. Otherwise, we might have just kept Bulut. So that's really the whole idea now. We can't keep on playing that football. It's the worst football I've seen, and I've been going to Cardiff since I was a child. I mean, people moaned about Neil Warnock's hoofball, but at least he hoofed it and we got goals and we got promoted. But I've never seen anything so boring. So yeah, hopefully we have the change of the formation. Just play people where they're supposed to play. Then you get the full potential of people. And like you say about El Ghazi, let's let him start Robertson. Why aren't they playing? How's El Ghazi going to get fit when you say he plays like 10 minutes and no wonder he's huffing and puffing, isn't he? We've got to get these, because that's another thing I don't understand. In those cup games, we weren't playing the El Ghazis. We weren't playing them to get match fit. So I just find that really bit strange.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's frustrating.
So drop Kanga, for goodness sake. He makes a Tetty look good, doesn't he? He does. So yeah, drop
Some
Kanga.
good comment, sir.
Jeff
Dela Cruz, you mentioned Warnock there, Don. Jeff Dela Cruz said Warnock should have taken over at half time on Saturday.
Well, I've seen that. Yeah, my daughter said that on the blog. She said maybe Neil Warnock was at a half time.
And he's also saying that Mark Hughes is the new favourite on one of the betting sites. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone up and down. I mean, I'm not sure about Mark Hughes personally. But,
Pan's not a favourite. No, isn't Pan's not Mark Hughes.
Don't even mention that name.
But you know what? Here's one for you, right? On Saturday, I was sat in the row behind the Leeds bench, and so I had a beautiful view, but I could also see the two benches, and the difference in the two benches and the way they were going about their business was like night and day. It was quite scary to see. Like, one was a clear top tier professional outfit, and one looked like they didn't want to be there. But one of the things which I found most frightening, and I talked about this a bit yesterday, is in the first half, Leeds would bring the ball out from their sort of area, from the keeper, and our team, Cardiff, would actively retreat. They weren't holding their position and shit. They were retreating back, and we didn't engage them until we were about 30 yards out from our own goal. And I was trying to think if I could remember seeing a team retreat like that ever. It was embarrassing to watch, but that negativity hopefully will go. I'm interested in some comments, because I saw Reese has just said there about, now that Bulut has gone, does this mean that the players will now show up again? No more jogging back, no more walking. Will they now bust the gut and show some respect to the fans who paid to get in? No more blaming Bulut. They've only got themselves to kind of go with. Steve, do you buy into that? Like, that it's all Bulut's fault, or do you think the players do have to take a bit of responsibility for it?
I think a lot of it is down to the manager's tactics. Sorry, excuse me. Personally, I think our flair players, any flair that they've had has sort of been eradicated because of Erol's tactics. And I think there's nothing worse if you're a player that's got a little bit of flair and you're being asked to track back all the time, as opposed to take the eye off what you do best, i.e. create and score goals. And I think there's a little bit of that being going on. Yes, the players should put a shift in for the fans, but I honestly, looking around there on Saturday, I think some of the players were just bemused by, okay, we had a guy sent off which put the cat amongst the pigeons, but I think they were a bit bemused with the tactics anyway. And I think even if you're picked and you're on that pitch, yes, you should give 110%. But I think if you lose faith in the manager, and you think you're going to go out there and you're going to lose the game before you've even kicked the ball, that's got to play mind games with you. So I think there was a little bit of that going on, to be honest. But it's interesting what some of the guys are saying. Jonathan Wilkins is saying he would build a team around Ruben and Joel Colwell, also Conte, Capaccio, Reindorf and Turnbull. I think the name of the game for us moving forward is to try and get some of those kids back. I mean, I don't know what the situation there is, whether you can ask them to come back, but we need youth in the side. We need legs, and we need youth. We need to be like the teams at the top of the league, and that's what they're doing these days, is playing the kids.
Yeah, I mean, every team in the Championship, they play their young players. They're athletic, they're mobile, they're energetic. First and foremost, they work hard. Pan, here's an interesting one for you. Al here has said, Oshan Roberts is the next manager for me. He got Como promoted to Serie A, but then lost his job to Cesc Fabregas. I think it was always the plan for Cesc Fabregas to take over. I think he was only ever temporary. But Oshan Roberts, is that a shout, Pan?
Well, he's a very good coach and he's got a very good reputation. But would you leave Como? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lovely part of the world, and he's got a great job there. And if I was him, I'd stay there. So, as much as I think he's a very good coach, the thing is, I would say about these coaches, and I think Erol Bulut is a good example, is the players, as I said, to me, they didn't want to play for Bulut. And again, I don't know. Sometimes, communication. There's plenty of foreign managers in the EFL and the Premier League. So, you can't really just argue that point. Say, well, there's a communication barrier. But the reason why Warnock was a fantastic manager, if you could say, for us, is that his communication, his man management, he knew how to get the best out of players. And Bulut, the one thing he didn't do, well, he took players backwards. The MGs of this world, the goalkeeper, and plenty of other players, the young players, they haven't improved, in my mind, on the pitch. But I just think, maybe looking at it, they didn't want to play for Bulut. And Steve mentioned the system. They just, the style of play, everything about it. But Ossian Roberts was my choice to come back to Wales as a coach, but I don't see him as a manager. He actually said when he stepped in for who was the manager at Crystal Palace? Was it Vieira? And he stepped in and sort of became interim manager. And he said he's not that type of person. He is a coach, and he goes about his job quite quietly. So yeah, he's got a lot of experience, and he's highly regarded here and in Europe. But I think he'll want to stay in Como side.
Yeah, good shout, mate. There was there was a comment. Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to address. Steve, you mentioned the players out who are out on loan at the moment: Joel Colwell, Conte, and Eli King. I think they're the three which fans were a bit bemused by, in terms of you could kind of see where they would fit in, even as squad players. And I think you look at Psyopos' performances, and you think, God, could Eli King have done any better? Then I think, judging by what we've seen, there's certainly an argument for that after a good loan last year. But it's my understanding that we can't recall any of the loan players until January, and that's only if we had agreements in the loan contracts, to say that there's a recall clause. So if they've got a 12-month loan and there's no recall clause, we cannot call them back. I know Martin, who was in the comments earlier, Donna, he watches all the under-21s games, and he feeds back to me a lot. He is of the belief that, Reindorf and a couple of the others, like I've been calling for Louis Giles, for instance, even though he's only 17, 18, because his delivery and his crossing when he overlaps is so far superior to anyone else in the squad. But he says, these boys, they're not ready. It's a big step up. And I would kind of go with what he says to a certain degree, because he watches a lot more of them than what I do. My thing with Reindorf, Donna particularly, is with Reindorf is, even if he's not quite there technically, he presses, he works hard, he runs in behind, and he makes a nuisance of himself. So all of those things Kanga hasn't been doing. Would you give Reindorf a go?
Sorry, carry on.
Would you give Reindorf a go, basically, instead of Kanga?
I still would, and this is another thing we need to address, because I hear it all the time. These players aren't ready, but they're 21, 22, like Ruben Colwell to us. He's still getting there. Now, I think Steve said it before. Everyone else at 17, 18, football career is short. You're at your peak at 25, So at 17, 18, you should be ready. But this is what we've been saying. So we need to look at what's going on in our fitness, in our academies, why players aren't ready at 17, 18, 19, and to meet the first team. This is what we, because there's Sunderland do it, everyone else does it, but all our players aren't ready. And then by the time, like the boys that we're loaning out, they're not youngsters anymore. They're at an age where they could be playing. So that's something we need to be addressing as well. Whoever's Mr. Purse, whoever does all the academy, why these players aren't ready? Why, just want to say that.
Wouldn't it be nice?
I hear a lot of it.
Sorry, Don. I was going to say, wouldn't it be nice on Saturday to play two players up front? There'd be something different to actually try and score a goal. Play two, or just play one very close behind. Play Ashford through the middle with Ronnie.
I would play Key and Ashford up front with. If we were going to play two up front, I would play Kanga. I would give him an opportunity in a different system, a bit more attacking, and I'd play Key and Ashford up front with him and see if that works. Now, only if we were going to play two up front. If we were going to play one up front or change the system slightly to a false nine or something like that, I wouldn't play Kanga. but I think Callum Robinson, is the mystery, Steve, isn't he? Because he was in fire in pre-season, scored against Swansea, and then we haven't seen him again since.
He might come back now. You never know. He might recover.
An alleged groin strain, but may be true. But there again, I think there's a little bit of a Bulut influence there on Mr. Robinson, and it's a pity because it looked like he was coming into form. And I think, once you score the goal against the Jacks, he should have been first name on the team sheet the next game, and he wasn't. And I think there's nothing more deflating as a forward, especially when you're in form, to get that news. So maybe an element of downing tools there. Nice comment from Mark Ponton on here. Si, let's be audacious, he says, and poach Phil Parkinson from Wrexham. You'll be lucky, Mark.
I've seen all sorts of names mentioned, and look, for me, I just think we've got to get it right, and I would like to see us take a little bit of patience with it, just to make sure we get it right, because at the moment we've played 6 games of football this season. There's like 40 odd left, or whatever it is. Like, if we get the right manager, we already have a decent squad. If you can get a couple of players back, maybe get Simic back from his loan in January, Isaac Davis come back, Aaron Ramsey, these people, if you can get them back under the right manager, there is no reason why Cardiff still cannot make the playoffs, which is mad to say when you've got a point and you're at the bottom of the league. But there's so long left. Kyle says, I'm not a massive fan of Robinson, but also I think, like, Robinson, of all the strikers we've got fit this season, has looked the most likely to score goals, and he hasn't played. And I think that's part of the frustration, isn't it? Let's have a look at some of these comments, and I'll get you guys to filter in on some of these things. So Michael says, I've seen a few youth games, and it's interesting that our younger players do only seem to get loaned to, like, League Two sort of and conference teams and stuff like that. Do you think, is that because they're not good enough, Pan? The young players, is that why we're seeing them go to the loans?
No, not at all, Si. I mean, if you look back in our history, one of our best players ever went to Morton in Scotland, and that's Robert Earnshaw. And Green at Morton, one of the lowest ranked teams in the Scottish League. So it's got no bearing on the player. I mean, some of these guys are 17, 18, Donna alluded to it, but you've got to grow up in the big boys game. And like, if you're going down to the National League, which is a competitive league, obviously when Wrexham were there, I was watching a bit of some of the games, and it's a pretty good level. So I think any player goes to, whether it's a League Two side or even a National League side, it's not a bad thing. It's not reflective on the player being not good enough or whatever. You've got to get them out there, get experience of different types of football, physical. They're up against 28, 29-year-olds, established players, and they've got to experience that. So no, I never think that. I think that, if anything, that makes them grow up more.
Yeah, not a bad shout, mate, at all. And actually, Martin's chimed in, who I was saying about, who watches a lot of the 21s, and he says Reindorf was released from Norwich's development team a couple of months ago for a reason. A few more months in the 21s, and maybe readdressed come January. Should be Callum Robinson up front for now, all day long. So, I accept that. But I think a lot of the time, sometimes I've said this a lot. Sometimes for a player, a manager, a coach, it's just going to a place and it's the right fit. Like, you could be awful somewhere else, and then you go somewhere else, and it's the right city for you to live in. It's the right place for your family, the right coaches, managers, fans, whatever it may be. It just clicks. And with young players, sometimes you chuck a player in there and he might not be ready technically, but you think there's something about him, and managers have chucked them in, and then they just go from strength to strength. Some other players, they freeze or they get exposed and they end up moving on to a different team. But you have to take that risk. And I feel like over the last 18 months, one thing Cardiff City don't do, Steve, is we don't take risks. You know, Ruben Colwell, Ollie Tanner, Willock, all these, creative players who have got flair. And instead of, if they've got a one-on-one with someone or a one-on-two even, where normally they try and beat the man and create something, they're so scared of losing the ball and the manager blaming them that they just go backwards because they've got to keep possession. There's no risk. And I think it was Pan said, I'd rather lose 3-2 trying to win the game than lose 2-0 trying not to lose. Do you agree with all
Same,
that?
have a bit of excitement. Yeah, have goals, excitement, some to cheer. Have the hope, innit?
I mean, there's nothing worse than losing all your home games, and that's what we've been doing, even as far back as last season. And I heard a couple of people on another phone in on Saturday saying they'd taken their sons and daughters to the game, and they wouldn't be taking them ever again, because they were bored senseless, And I think, as Pan said earlier, I mean, the numbers are decreasing already, and I think if we'd have kept Erol at the helm, I think they would have decreased even more. People need to be entertained, though. We all know that. I mean, it's an entertainment business. People want to get off their seats. People want to see chances. People want to see the ball in the box. People want to see lots of goals. And yes, I think even though Warnock's style was a bit archaic, I mean, at least we got the ball forward and we scored goals. So especially in the home game side, you've got to, I mean, the way we set up on Saturday, well, there were 5 defenders. Okay, he started with 3 with 2 wing backs, but in effect it was 5 defenders with Siopsis and Wolves sat right in front of him. And I think we actually set up to get a draw on Saturday. We didn't set up to win that game. There was no evidence that we were going to go for a win there and get the ball forward, progressive football. And that's what we've got to do, especially at home, because if you're not winning your home games, you're in serious trouble. And
there's a couple of great comments for you. I just want to get to, Steve. Sorry if I cut you off there, mate. Martin said Cameron Jerome was released by Middlesbrough the season before he broke through with us. So just because someone's released elsewhere doesn't necessarily reflect on their ability to perform for us. Jeff says Turnbull had a run out for the under-21s today. Do you think he's getting ready for Saturday?
Well, we could, because I've never known anyone get injured in the pre-warm-up. So I don't know what all that was about. Very cynical. But yes, I mean, I'm not overly. I don't know if I really rate Turnbull, but perhaps again now with a new style of play, perhaps he'll be okay. He'll be okay. He's not one of my favourites, but he's another body back. But
you never know when you're a different manager, different direction. You never know. Reese has got an interesting comment here. He says, look, Erol Bulut isn't devoid of any criticism. He says, yes, he's defensive, but at that point, they're too scared to lose the ball. We lack any leaders in the side. Joe Rawls, club captain, yes, absolutely. Match captain, no. Do you agree we lack leaders, Pan?
Yeah, I agree with Reese. I think he is right to a degree, but I would say we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and I think, players, you're right, they're paid a lot of money, but if there's a relation breakdown with the manager, there's disagreements going on, it's reflective in how the players perform. It shouldn't be because they're paid a lot of money, but I just got the impression is that, we've signed, so-called a lot of quality players. Robertson was regarded as this big, superstar for us, could be like, he's player of the season at Pompey, highly regarded. We haven't seen really any of him. There's a lot of players there that have got qualities, but we're not seeing it on the pitch. So I think Reese is right to a degree. I think, Rolsey, he's our, he gives 110%, and he is the type of player he is. He's not a technical player. He does the hard work, the work that doesn't really get appreciated. So I never criticise him in terms of his work rate and effort, but I do sort of sense, from the team itself that there were a lack of leaders, in certain positions. So I think he could be right to a degree, but I do really think that the players weren't playing for Bulut.
Yeah, another interesting
was a strange one. Sorry, I was going to just
for this one. Go on, Steve. Go on, Steve.
I was just going to quickly mention Turnbull was a bit of a strange one because we paid a lot of money for that kid, and he really hadn't been given a run in the side for whatever reason, has he? I mean, I know Don says yes, he was injured in a couple of warm-ups or whatever, but he doesn't seem to have taken off. You know, he came. What did we pay? Over $1 million for him, wasn't it? So we paid big money
maybe
for him.
Maybe he's another one that didn't get on with Bulut. Another one that didn't go with Bullets.
I think Walls in the side sat in front of the back 3 or 4, yes, but don't play Seopsis there as well. It's an either or there, and so if you just put one there, then that frees up a Turnbull or a Robertson. Get the more creative players in the midfield. That's what we need. Average age of the Sunderland team is 24. The eldest is 24 in the Sunderland side, and the energy in that. I was really impressed with Sunderland on the weekend. But talking to Sunderland, Tony Mowbray, who blooded most of those youngsters, is looking to. I know he's been ill, but he's looking to get back into management. So there's maybe another name you could throw in the hat. Out of work.
He was on the odds. Steve, I saw him.
Tony Mowbray was my choice. When someone asked me the other day. But it's my understanding that there's a combination of he might not be ready, and I think there's some type of insurance issue, but I'm not sure. But he would be my choice, absolutely. I think he ticks every box that you need in terms of bringing people together, discipline, but also playing the right way, young players and stuff like that. Martin's got a scenario for you. We'll go with Pan. You can do this one. Interim manager, so say Omar Risa does a real good job for the next 4 games, wins all 4-0. We play beautiful football, scoring goals, clean sheets. Does Vincent Tan keep him?
Well, first of all, to Martin, if that happens, I'd give him my house. I mean, it's. As I said, it'd be a dream, wouldn't it, if this guy, where was he at Watford before, wasn't he? So, I just can't see. I should be more confident with the fact that Bulut's gone, but I do think we've got an issue in the side. There's no real. I don't look at it as a team. I know obviously Darlan's been injured. He's quality. Fish is quality. There's defenders there who've got high quality. But I'm looking at sort of certain players linking together, understanding, where someone goes on a cross. But I mean, all this has to be done with a new coach. But yeah, if Risa suddenly wins the next few games 4-0, so he's got to be offered a contract. But there's no way in a million years I think that's going to happen. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, Martin's just said he said Darren Pearce would have been a better interim. And I know, like, Darren Pearce, for some reason, people seem to, whenever his name comes up as an interim, they kind of throw their arms in the air and say, oh, no. And maybe, I've got a bit of bias there. But I just look at the players that he's brought through who are ready for first-team football or first-team involvement. So
but we're saying they're not ready for first team.
But that's it. I think they are ready for first-team football with the right manager. And I just think he wouldn't have been. I'm not saying he should have got out. I'm saying he wouldn't have been the worst choice as an interim manager if they would decided to sort of clear the boards completely of all the coaching staff. Sean says you win nothing with kids. Famous saying, obviously. I want to finish off on this last couple of minutes, Steve. I'll go to you first. Where do you stand on Seopsis? Because he's had a poor start to the season. Had a little dip last year, but he was pretty good at the end and the start. Where do you stand with him as in regards to how he fits in the team now?
Well, I think, like I just mentioned, I think if you're to get us more on the front foot, let's just play one defensive midfielder. So it's either going to be Rolls or it's going to be Seopsis. You take your pick out of those two. I think he's been running around like a bit of a headless chicken this year. Now Erol's gone. Where does, I think someone's mentioned there on the comments, where does that leave Seopsis and Gutas with Erol out the equation? Is that gonna influence anything there? But I mean, he's done okay to a certain degree, but I think he could just play one defensive midfielder. Let all the others be the creative ones, and let's see how we get on from there. So it's either Joe Rolls or it's Seopsis. So you pay your money and you take your choice there.
Yeah, I was excited
Probably,
when we signed. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, probably Joe. Yeah, and yeah, go on, sorry. Yeah, I was excited as well.
I was excited when we signed Alex Robertson because I felt like he was the perfect partner for Seopsis to just sit and literally be the ball winner and just play 2-yard passes to Seopsis, to Robertson, to Darland, and people like that who've got the ability to play those balls through the lines and take 2-3 players out of the game with one pass. But unfortunately, Seopsis has kind of struggled a little bit. I felt Gutas struggled a little bit towards the end of last year. He's definitely fourth choice centre back at the moment. And when this Tusanada comes in back from his injury, where does he fit in? Pan, do you think he will be first team ready when he's fit? He can play left back, he can play left centre back. Highly rated from what people say, but no one's seen a lot of him. Do you think he could be a first team option?
What's Sonda?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Tusanada.
Yeah, whatever his name. Yeah, I really don't know. So I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I said play a back three. Fish is a very, very good play. He looked really good against Leeds. Let's be honest, Leeds in March when they beat us home 3-0, they weren't half as good as that performance and that team. The team they actually had out on Saturday was pretty average, but they still could have won 5-6-0. That's how bad City were. But I actually like Fish. I like Darland a lot, and I just think 3 at the back. There's 3, and I wouldn't. Gutas is getting knocked. I agree he should have been dropped. But let's remember he was one of our higher rated players last season. Played the whole season, scored a few goals from corners, and yet playing him on the left doesn't work. But obviously I think he's got a role. So personally, I wouldn't knock Gutas too much. He's had a couple, 2 or 3 bad games, but he was one of our better players last season. So where we need goals, he's pretty good in the box. So I would still have him in the mix, but I prefer Fish, Chambers, and Darland as the 3.
Okay. Last couple of minutes or last minute now. Donna, if you're picking a manager, and I'm going to put this to everyone then in a minute, but if you're picking a manager very quickly, who would your choice for manager be?
With money no object, with being able to buy people out of contracts, I would have Nathan Jones because he's a Cardiff boy as well, and I think that's one of the things you need. You need someone that loves the club, that wants the best for the club, because Neil Warnock loved the club. So, and that's why we did well with him. So Nathan Jones.
Steve, who would your choice for the new manager be?
Well, providing he's healthy, I'd go for Tony Mowbray. So,
good choice. Pan, quickly. Who would you choose?
Yeah, I agree with Donna. If you said who I could have, if I could have without any issues with contracts, then Nathan Jones would definitely be my number 1 choice. But I think Poyet should be in the mix because he's one to watch.
Poyet.
Yeah, my first choice is Tony Mowbray. I wouldn't be disappointed with Nathan Jones. I think there's a lot of positives to that. I wouldn't be disappointed with Schumacher either, I've got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate you. Big thank you to Steve for trusting me to take the reins for the Cardiff City phone in. I really appreciate you. Hope I did a good enough job for him. And please do check out Cardiff City World as well. Cardiff City content 7 days a week, every single day, by fans, for fans. Thank you to Steve, Pan, and Donna for joining me. And the phone in will be back next Monday, and we'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.
Thank you.